childhood engineering curriculum. So I'm calling this session Inclusive Engineering and Design Thinking because when I originally proposed something, I proposed inclusive and integrated STEM. And for me, there's no better way of integrating the STEM areas, so science, technology, engineering, and math, than through engineering projects. And every child is an engineer, no matter how old they are, how young they are. And in fact, Rebecca this morning talked about how empowering it is for our young people with disabilities to be empowered to think of themselves as problem solvers. That's exactly what engineers do. They solve problems. Now, before I show you any slides at all, I would like you to collaborate with the smart brains at your table and look around the Educator Resource Center. You have some yellow sticky notes there. Please take a yellow sticky note and a pen. I want you to brainstorm. I'm going to put my timer on for 5 minutes. I want you to brainstorm for 5 minutes all the things in the Educator Resource Center that were engineered. Engineered. Fantastic. I'm going to be crowdsourcing ideas throughout our time together because all of you have the wisdom. And all of you are engineers. You are engineering every day. You engineer your classroom environment. You engineer your curriculum. You engineer the schedule so that you don't have cranky children after lunch. What is an engineer? Could I have a volunteer who will use the magic wand and guide us through the process? Thank you. Come on up. Another inclusive practice I use is I never do anything that another human can do for me, right? So all of our children, regardless of whether they're 2.5 or they're 12.5, they can use the magic wand and they can guide the group through something visual. Okay, can you read it to us?
An engineer first thinks about a goal, and then they plan the goal. First they start brainstorm, and then they plan, and then they create the goal, and then they test the goal, then they evaluate the goal. And prior to all that, while they are creating the problem, so engineer is a person who solves problems. So they think about the problem, they frame the problem, investigate the problem, and then they think about ideas or brainstorm ideas to solve that problem. And then they go through this process.
So now I'm confused. Do you think that engineers start with brainstorming? Do they start with framing the question? Would it be possible for an engineer to even start with creating something? Yes. Yes. Notice it's a circle. There's no beginning and no end to circles. And so engineers actually may start at any point on this circle. They might be investigating something. They might be testing something else. Engineers are always thinking and going through a process. All right, are you an engineer? Thumbs up if you are an engineer. Awesome, fantastic. Could I get a volunteer here? Because you bugged out your eyes and I knew you didn't want to. Could you read us what is an engineer?
Sure. A person who uses a structured approach to design objects, systems, and processes to solve a problem.
Thank you so much. So at your table, I'm going to toss the ball to your table. If someone could share one common engineered thing from the Educator Resource Center that you think solved a problem, could you, I'll bring you the microphone. Okay, we're going to start at this table. Somebody catch it. All right.
Let's see, there were so many things that we had. I really like these little power towers because we need to charge and they move around. Sure, we all bring our laptops to attend trainings and do work, and sometimes they need to be charged. And so if there are only chargers on the wall, we're all lined up and waiting.
How many of you have suffered through the airport and seen humans like all huddled around one little corner of the airport, right? So it does solve a problem. Could you popcorn the ball to another table over on this side? And we'll get another idea.
Oh man. So I decided to talk about the table just because it's easier to move. The problem is it's not stationary, and it's we can move it now to wherever in the room.
So just if you didn't notice it yet, go ahead and take a minute and look at your table and identify what makes these tables mobile. It's kind of cool. It makes it easier on us presenters to shift things around if we want a different setup. Okay, can you popcorn over to a table that hasn't shared yet? This will be our last table. Oh, okay. Okay.
The different types of seating available here in the resource center. So there's multiple different types of seating. So the problem that would solve is that everyone has a different need, whether, to be partially standing or lower, so, or whatever, so that it meets the need of whoever needs to sit there.
Fantastic. And throughout the Educator Resource Center, you will find stools that are adjustable height. You will find higher chairs, lower chairs, and adjustable chairs. So we encourage you to find a chair that works for your body. And indeed, that was a problem that needed to be solved, making sure that there is seating appropriate for everyone. So engineers, wherever they are in the process, whether it's the brainstorm or framing a problem or designing something, they do a lot of things that our kids do in school. So I'm going to let you look at this visual. And I would argue that all children do these things, that 2-year-olds, that 3-year-olds, that 4-year-olds, that students with disabilities, that all students are capable of doing these things. Now, you might push back at me and say, oh, come on, Miss Robyn. Really? Children who are 2? They can't do all of that. Is anyone skeptical? Want to articulate your skepticism? See if others agree? Anybody? No? Everybody agrees? Yay! Oh, here's someone who disagrees. You don't disagree?
Hi, everyone. Last year I worked with a 2-year-old class, and this reminds me of my class that I had last year where there were 2. Some of them have language, some of them did not. So they did do building and they did talk in their own way, bubbling and like one word sentence and stuff. So they did all those things.
Thank you so much for sharing from your experience with 2-year-olds. What about this one? I recently gave the same presentation at the San Jose State University early learning professional development day. And I had someone stand up and say, there's no way that young children do research, Miss Robyn. There's just no way. There's no way. Thoughts?
I do have a thought. I think obviously we wouldn't call it research, but 2-year-olds do observe their surroundings constantly. And so no, it is not computer research or book research, but they are watching and observing and probably at their own developmental level make their own conclusions and have questions that they are maybe not able to express just yet.
Folks at this table, back table, imagine that you are pre-literate, but you saw a robin, a little bird, just fly by the window. How, in our classroom, there's the window, you just saw a robin fly by. You're pre-literate. How could you learn more about robins? How could you research something about robins? Look around. The Educator Resource Center has the learning environment supported you to research more about robins?
I was going to say, from this vantage point where I'm sitting, I can see that there is materials to build a nest right behind them. There's books about it. They can also draw on the whiteboards and they can discuss things with each other. So those are some observations that I had.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. And I'll give you that Starbucks card later. No, I'm just kidding. How many of you have books in your classroom? Books are a wonderful way of supporting our pre-literate people with understanding or learning more about any given topic. And I have a few examples of engineering, potential engineering and design challenges that can be done with children who are pre-literate. Very short challenges. I'll show them more to you later. So I'm not going to read this slide to you, but these are all the arguments from the museum, the Museum of Moss, the Museum of Science in Boston. They have articulated all the ways that young children engage in engineering. My slide deck is available to you through the Inclusion Collaboratives app. And so I encourage you to check it out, read it later, and use it to justify why you are doing engineering in your classrooms. I'd like to show you a short video, and then we're going to move into a hands-on experience. So you'll notice that there are some materials at your table. And it's so important that we allow children of any age opportunities to explore materials. Why do you think that might be important? What might a child discover about materials by just simply touching and feeling them? Any thoughts?
They invent something.
Other thoughts?
I think they, when they explore touching the material, they will learn about the size of the material, the shapes, the textures, how it feels. If the young kid, may put in the mouth and they could feel in different ways.
Thank you so much. Fantastic. Again, I'll give you the Starbucks card later. No, I'm kidding. I'm just kidding. Yes. So shape, size, texture. Our youngest children may put something in their mouth. I've worked with older children who are still putting things in their mouth. The mouth is the way we explore things. Think about your own experience with food, you know, and umami flavors versus sweet and sour.
Something that comes to mind is creative thinking. So when you support different materials, different kinds of materials, creativity sparks language.
Excellent. So in and through materials exploration, we are helping develop language skills in our students. We're helping them uncover those words to describe things, descriptive words, size, shape, color, texture. And that might spur some creativity and inspire them to create something.
Okay, ready? Put your hands in the air so I don't mush anyone's fingers. These are more ideas of things you could use for your designs.
In early childhood, teachers are constantly differentiating for children depending on where they are. Open-ended materials allow young children to access learning in a way that's meaningful to them in that moment in time.
I'm giving you some small rocks. See what kind of marks those make.
If you think about the zones of proximal development, we don't want to frustrate children with a material that's too hard for them, but we don't want to bore children with something that's too easy for them. Open-ended materials lend themselves to children using them in a way that they can learn at their own rate, and we're meeting them where they're at.
Your job today is going to be to move, to transfer. Can you say that word? Transfer. To move the sand from the container to the bottle. And in front of you, we have all these different materials.
Open-ended materials don't have one right way of being used. Children can explore them and use their imagination and take them where they want.
Look at that. She put something inside her funnel. Does that change how the sand goes through?
Yeah, it goes through here.
It goes through there.
On its own.
You want to try that?
And teachers are there as facilitators by their side to help them explore those ideas and ask the right question at the right time to advance their understanding and learning.
Can you put your fingers across that and see what it feels like? Good idea. It has a little bit of texture.
Materials that we choose are often coming from a natural environment. Oftentimes it's not things that we're purchasing, but found items. Things that will give teachers and children an opportunity to have conversations.
Important thing. What's inside there?
And many times those materials that are put out are there to support vocabulary.
It sounds like tunnel, and funnel. What do you notice about those words? Tunnel, funnel. They rhyme. That's right, Mark.
When you have interesting things in your classroom,
Oh, those are honeycombs too?
you have interesting things to talk about. You might notice one child starting to do one thing and another one will look over and say, oh, that's a great idea. Often you'll see them having conversations and genuine relationships are starting to be formed.
Thank you so much for coming back together. So as you can tell, communicating with other people is a huge part of what engineers do. Whether they're framing a problem by talking to the people who are disabled and having a hard time getting their wheelchair off the sidewalk, to talking with other engineers about the properties of materials that might support low friction on the floor so that we don't get into our wheelie chairs and zip across the room. All of those things require us to engage in both talking, but also listening. So I hope you had a turn talking and listening during your pairing just now. Another vital piece of engineering is empathizing. And so we're going to do a very rapid design challenge right now. I'd like you to take a minute to just feel the 3 different materials you have at your table and talk with one another about their properties, their texture, color, shape. For those of you who are not at a table with materials, please just come and join one so that you can see and touch the materials and compare them. So right now you're going to be using language. You're going to be using the language of science to talk about the materials at your table, compare them, their properties. Okay, I'm hearing some really great description words over here. I know I just heard somebody describing the quality of the gems, the glass stones. From your table, is there a volunteer who could tell us a word that you use to describe the glass stone? Whoa. Loud. Can you do a thumbs up or a agree, which is like hang 10? Agree if you agree that those glass stones are loud. That's an interesting property. Thank you for observing that. Who else would like to share a different property of the glass stones, the glass beads? A different property.
They're smooth.
Can you do agree if you agree that they are smooth? So they're loud, they're smooth. Do we have a third descriptor from another table? Something different? Thank you.
They're almost translucent, so they let light through them.
100%. They are translucent. Beautiful description. Beautiful. If you notice they were translucent, they let the light through, go ahead and show agree. Fantastic. Okay, do you see how we would be developing language, descriptive language, with our students in and through the exploration of these materials and how they would learn from each other? I think I also heard the word bumpy, I heard round, I heard so many descriptive words. I would do this with small groups of students to have them explore materials. And then I'm going to introduce you to a friend of mine. And is Ellie still here? Oh, she stepped out because I wanted her to meet my friend, Ellie. This is Ellie, the engineering elephant. And she has flown all the way. She's an Indian elephant. So she flew all the way from Delhi, India, to be here with us today. How are you feeling, Ellie? I'm tired. Oh, must have been a long flight all the way from Delhi. Yeah, it was really uncomfortable. Oh, no. Well, you can take a nap here in the Educator Resource Center if you want to. Well, I don't have any of the things that I usually nap with. Oh, no. What are the kinds of things that we usually nap with? How could we support Ellie in taking a nap here in the Educator Resource Center? So I have done this activity with 3-year-olds, and they can really empathize with being tired. And then in a licensed preschool, they have nap time, and they have certain materials they use for nap time. How many of you are with, for those of you who are with preschoolers and TKers, what materials might children have in their room to support them with taking a nap or resting?
Usually they would have their own cots or mats, and each of the child will have their own plankies, and then stuffed animal, or sometimes if they don't have stuffed animal with them, then they will grab one of those pillows that are available or the stuffed animal that available from the classroom.
Okay, Jane, I heard you say the magic word, and that was pillow. Pillow. Gosh, Ellie, would you like a pillow? Because we do have, some benches over there, and maybe if we engineered a pillow for you, you'd be able to take a rest. Oh, I would like a soft pillow. Okay, so we have an engineering design challenge for Ellie right now. Now, could I do this challenge with Tommy the tortoise? Mm-hmm. Could I do it with Robyn the robin? Mm-hmm. Pretty much any stuffed friend you have in your classroom can present an engineering problem with which children can empathize and then frame a solution. So Jang just helped us frame a solution. I know some adults are uncomfortable with puppets, but I will just say I have used puppets with children all the way up to grade 3. And there's something magical and alive about them that really the children just live into them and really can empathize with them in a deeper way than they can with a live human. Plus, you get to control what it says, and you can use the puppet also for pro-social things. So if you see a team who are arguing about materials, your puppet, Ellie, can come over and guide the children through sharing the materials more equitably. Ellie can come over and check in with a child who's feeling sad. So you can use puppets to support social and emotional development in and through an engineering process. On your table, I want to just point out to you, and I do have additional copies. I didn't anticipate this many people. So it is hyperlinked in the slide deck. You'll be able to print it out for yourself later from the slide deck. But on your table, there's some sentence stems that can be used to support children really of any age or adults in having engineering conversations. And on the flip side of it, I made a copy of We Speak Like Scientists, because really engineers, they are mathematicians, they are scientists, they are engaging in agreement and disagreement, they are observing things, they are articulating their thoughts, and even our youngest children can do that with support. And so I encourage you to take some of these sentence frames or sentence stems to use with your children, regardless of age or ability. I'm not going to do a commercial because I don't get paid by this product company, but I wanted to show it to you because I did get to pilot test it some years ago, and I believe this is a terrific dynamic curriculum. It's called We Engineer, and it's published by the Museum of Science, and they provide kits with all the materials for teachers to share between classrooms. It comes with 4 different investigations. And I'd like to just model one of those or a couple of those for you right now. It is copyright material, so I can't provide you a copy of it, but I can at least show you some of the engineering challenges that are baked into this program so that you can be inspired by them and perhaps think creatively about what materials you have in your school environment or classroom environment that might support a similar investigation. And with all of these investigations, Ellie, my engineering puppet, comes out and helps the children figure out what is present the problem and help the children frame it. Oh, and for our youngest learners, so again, how many work with children who are 5 and under? Okay, yay. Okay, fantastic. So the Museum of Science articulates a 3-step engineering process, which is very developmentally appropriate for our youngest learners. And for those of you who are uncomfortable singing, you may stay seated. But for those of you willing to learn, there's a little engineering song that goes with this 3-step process. And it has some hand gestures too that young children love. So if you are willing to learn a song, go ahead and stand up. Take out your hands because we're going to use hand gestures. Okay, there's 3 things we're going to do when we engineer. First is explore. So can you hold your magnifying glass up to your eye? First, we explore. You say that. The next thing we do is we create. So I want to see all your creative hands. We're going to say, then we create. But we don't stop there because the pillow could always be improved. You could always try and make it better. So the gesture I use for improve is thumbs up. Improve to make it better. Now point to yourself. Engineers are great. And this song is to the tune of, actually, I forgot. Well, you'll tell me. We are engineers. We are engineers. We can solve problems because we are engineers. First, we explore. Then we create. Improve to make it better. Engineers are great. Well done, engineers. Farmer in the Dell. Okay, I just absolutely couldn't remember. So, these 4 investigations, I know it's kind of tiny, so I wonder if is there a volunteer who would like to come up with the magic wand and tell what these investigations say? Anybody? Magic wand? Anybody? Come on, it's so fun. Kids love to have a turn with the magic wand. Excellent. Thank you for that's a wonderful adaptation. Come on up. Hold the microphone for you if you like. Can.
Okay. Oh. Okay, they're the same. Okay, so the goal is to engineer a loud noisemaker.
Green one.
Yes. To engineer a fan that can move a ball far. And then the red, engineer a wrecking ball that can knock down a block tower. Ooh, I want to do that one. And 4, engineer a raft that floats.
Thank you. Thank you so much for reading those. Okay, so I'm going to model for you a few of the materials. They're very simple. I have done all 4 investigations with children ages 2.5 to 5.5, and it works with all of them. So in order to create a fan, I don't know, how many of you remember in the video from Edutopia, there was a little boy and he was like trying to open the clothespins. How many of you have clothespins in your classroom? Clothespins are like the penultimate fine motor skill developer. And when I was in the classroom, I used clothespins for pretty much everything. The job board, child had to move the clothespins to the next job that they took. So it's a common thing in our early childhood classrooms. And I've just duct taped a popsicle stick to it to extend it a little bit so that it's longer. And then I provide the children with a variety of different materials to explore: paper, tissue paper, cloth, cardboard, and they test them out. They can open the clip, because even a 2-year-old can open a clothespin clip. They can clip on one kind of material, and then they can test whether it blows the ball. Oh, where's the ball? They can test whether it blows the ball far. Without touching it. Thank you. Thank you for modeling. Okay, you get the idea. So with this investigation, children are exploring the properties of different types of flat materials: cardboard, tissue paper, whatever you have, fabric from raft, old baby diapers, hopefully clean, I don't know, whatever you have. So that's fan. Very simple. You could make that. For noisemaker, I want to talk about the cultural component of noisemaking, that a number of different cultures have holidays throughout the year in which children produce a noisemaker or use a noisemaker in their cultural celebration. And so with noisemaker, I have done this engineering investigation, make a noisy noisemaker, with 2 different cultural holidays in mind. One in the context of my religious community, in which children made something called a grogger, which is a noisemaker used for the spring holiday Purim. I've also used this engineering investigation with the celebration of Lunar New Year and waking in the context of waking up the dragon. So using the same materials you have at your table here, pom-poms, erasers, the glass beads, children might be invited to explore those materials and fill a little box. This is just a jewelry box that I got at Affordable Treasures. I have duct taped, again, popsicle sticks to the back from dollar store, and I will support the young children with putting a rubber band around the box after they select which materials they want to test out. And then they shake. And they can iterate over and over and over again, testing materials. And you're adults, so I know you probably know which materials would make the noisiest noisemaker. But our young children may be drawn to materials for different reasons. They might like the fuzzy quality of the pom-poms and want to test those out, and they should. And they will discover that they're quiet. They might be drawn to the colorful texture of the erasers. I mean, the gummy texture of the erasers. And they'll notice it makes a sound. Now they get to compare that sound to the sound of the jewels. You can use this with any materials, but I do recommend at least 3 materials for the children to explore and support them with figuring out. For a wrecking ball, I have to say, stating me, 20 years ago, when my son was in preschool, he went to preschool in San Francisco, and the preschool was right in the city, and there was a construction site next to the preschool, and the children were it was a Reggio preschool, Reggio Emilia preschool. Children were endlessly fascinated with the construction project. And so their room was always, for several weeks, set up to investigate construction. And so when I learned this wrecking ball engineering activity, it just harkened back to when my son was in preschool. And children delight in building towers and knocking them down. And so this is just a very simple condiment cup with a lid. The children, and I've duct taped some string onto it, all from the dollar store. These materials, by the way, from the dollar store. Children can experiment with putting different materials in, mixtures of materials, and then testing it out. So I've made a very small preschool size block tower here. And you would support the children with having stations set up somewhere in your classroom where they could take the wrecking ball and test it out. You can use different types of materials to support this. You can design your center with books and other research materials to help children understand the construction and deconstruction process involved in building cities. You can provide them with paper to draw architectural plans of their buildings before they knock them down. There is just a tremendous amount of STEM. They can measure how many blocks tall it was before and after being knocked down. Let me just also say, I forgot to mention that with any material we give to children, we, 2 things. One, we always want to make sure it's developmentally appropriate. And so if we do have children under 3, making sure that it's not too small and that it couldn't get clogged in a nostril or an ear, because children are always exploring their body parts and putting things in them to see if they fit. Secondly, it's always an opportunity for counting collections. This is a best practice in early math, where you provide children with an interesting collection of materials, and they count and sort and group and regroup the materials to uncover how many are in that set. I'd like to also give a shout out to this book. published by the NAEYC Press. That's the National Association for the Education of Young Children. It's called Making and Tinkering with STEM. And I have one example of an activity that comes from this book at this table back here. How many of you know the story of the 3 little pigs? Yes? Is it unanimous? Okay, fantastic. Everybody knows the story. So I happen to have back here, I have 3 little pigs and their mama or papa or whatever. And I would break children into groups, each get a pig, each get one material. I have little itty bitty baby brooks. Now, you can use Legos, you can use wooden blocks. It doesn't matter. The children don't care. This is raffia to represent straw for the storehouse. And these are just broken up sticks from my backyard. So very low cost way of having the children explore materials. And then I also have a little big bad wolf here. And in my STEM lab, I would use a blow dryer to simulate the blowing of the big bad wolf. We're post-COVID, so probably you could have children use their breath to try and blow down the houses. And I would set some parameters for the children and have them do these design challenges in small groups. And so I just wanted to show you a couple of storybook challenge ideas. So the 3 pigs, they build a house that must hold at least 1 plastic pig and have a door for the pig to escape, and has to be resist being blown down. Now, you can use whatever materials are available to you in your context as well. You can also crowdsource and solicit from the children what materials they would like to use. Another example is from that same book is Mama Built a Little Nest. So a design challenge in which children design a bird's nest that can hold 1 plastic egg. There's an example of some materials and a stuffed animal and a suggestion at the back table. And finally, an example of a storybook design challenge for the very busy spider, inviting children to use pipe cleaners or yarn in order to weave a spider's web that can hold 1 plastic spider. You get the idea now, hopefully, and I encourage you to be creative, crowdsource ideas from the children, help the children uncover problems that characters in their favorite stories have, and then set up opportunities for them to solve those problems. When we empower children of any age and any ability level to see themselves as a problem solver, we are empowering them for success in life. Thank you so much, everybody. My slides will be available on the inclusion website.